Okay, Dynamite Delight. Before we get started, there's something I need to address. Even though I did generally address it in my gut report, I think I need to do it now, particularly that, I've seen Just Alex's video talking about Tony Khan and his interview, and I gotta address it. I got to. Even though I did talk about it, I need to address this. Guys, if you don't know, Tony Khan, after he did the tweet, which showed how pissed off he was that AEW got his ass whooped by WWE and NXT, he went onto a podcast and clearly did not understand what he was doing. Well, actually, he did understand what he was doing, but he didn't understand the scope of how many people were going to chew his ass out. And pretty much, when it was done, everyone was literally saying, "What are you doing, Tony?" Now, Vince Russo, I know I'm going like, I'm sure you're going to say, what? Vince Russo? Yes, I watched Vince Russo's video on what he talked about when it came to Tony, when it came to the tweet, and the subsequent interview he did. I can't remember the guy in the name of the guy who did the interview. I can't remember. I'm blanking. And I'm not trying to not give him credit. I just don't remember his name right now. But if you look for it, you'll be able to look for the Tony Khan interview that embarrassed him. Just look it up. You might be able to find it on YouTube. But let's make it clear. What Vince Russo said is 100% true and 100% accurate on what he said about a Tony Khan. Now, I'm not going to tell you that he didn't make it long-winded. Yes, he did. He made it long-winded and mainly about himself. But he is correct. And what do I mean by that? Simple. Why is Tony getting so pissed the way he is? Why is Tony doing what he is doing when his own wrestler should be doing it? Now, mind you, Vince McMahon has gone in front of the camera. Vince McMahon has been a character. Because, let's make it clear, Tony Khan is not Vince McMahon. Tony Khan was not Eric Bischoff. Tony Khan was like Ted Turner. He set up what was needed to get set up, like for WCW, but he let Eric Bischoff, who was a business major, who took over where Watts was, who was running WCW, I believe, at the time. And not only he run it on behalf of Ted Turner, he also became an on-screen figure, like a Vince McMahon. Tony is not like that. Tony is not doing that. He's done little bits in the back, but he's not an on-screen character. The problem here, and this leads all the way back to what's going on. Tony is not a wrestler, and he's not an on-screen character, but he's acting like it when he goes to these interviews and basically goes in front of the screen. Whether it's ego, whether he believes that the people in the back are not worth enough or not developed enough, or he just wants to help, he's hurting his product. Flat out, that's the truth. Because people see he's embarrassing himself. He's become, as Vince Russo said, the face of the company. Why isn't MJF being seen more than Tony Khan? Tony should not be going to interviews constantly. Tony should not be on TV constantly. Look, he's going to give Sting a gift. And I'll get to Sting in a few minutes, but you get my point. Tony should not be doing that. He's not a Vince McMahon. He's not an Eric Bischoff. He's not a Jeff Jarrett. And that's going far when it comes to Jeff Jarrett and TNA/AEW. Or TNA, and he's in the AEW, but he's not running it. If he was the general manager of AEW, I can understand that he has the right to be there because Tony Khan is the general manager, but he's not. If it's a Jeff Jarrett, I would understand him being there and doing interviews and doing the scrum or something like that because he is the general manager. But Tony's not, and he's hurting the company. So Vince Russo is right. Doesn't mean I agree with him all the time, but he's right here. Now, let's get, and this is 4 minutes, I had to do it. Let's get to the opening of the show in Texas. We got Penta versus Jay White. It was fine. It was an alright match. But where does it lead right now for a Penta? Not really much. This was about Jay White. He won the match because Juice gave him a knock with the Seconia to his face. Well, actually with this hand. And he pretty much is making it clear that he's better than MJF. That's the basics. I'm making it short because we did get the ending of the show, which I will talk about when he came out again. Now, let's get to the match that really angered me. It did. Again, I've been saying this for years, and things have not changed. Why do they not book these women correctly? We got Hiroko Shida, who is the current TBS champion. No, I'm sorry. I got that mixed up. You know why? Because I don't see anything between the two. They almost feel the same when it comes to Statlander and Shida feel the same. There's no difference between the two. That's why I got them mixed up. And this pisses me off that this wasn't a match for that title, for the World Championship. This was a title shot. Well, not a title shot. It was basically her giving someone a shot to get the number one contendership. And the thing that's angry... This is the reason I get so angry. I mess up my words and I botch. Look at Emily Sakura, who's been there for a long time, on and off, been on screen, been off screen, has gone and put people over. She has trained Rio, and they had a short match and a small time to build it when that happened. Now here, Hiroko Shida gets the same thing because Sakura trained her as well. And what did we get? We got a vid pack beforehand about Emi Sakura, which meant nothing. No build for the current champion of the championship. And I forgot that she's not the TBS champion. I thought she was. She's the world champion, but because Statlander's not much different than her, I easily got that mixed up with it because I don't feel anything from Hiroko Shida. Because she's no better than Statlander. They're not building either one of these women up. Open challenges. In this case, the open challenge was a title shot later if Emi Sakura won. Why couldn't you build her up? Why couldn't you let Emi Sakura, no matter if she speaks Japanese or English, why couldn't you build her up to make her mean something before the match they would have? Hell, they could set it up for Full Gear. No. Just a straight match. Sakura loses. What do we get for Hiroko Shida? Nothing. Nothing. It's bullshit. It pisses me off. This is stupid. The women's... what do we really get? And I hear now that Sky Blue's going up against Ruby Soho. For what? Ruby Soho should be TBS champion. She should be. It would make more sense for the Outcast, which they keep promoting, which means nothing. Let's move on. Okay. Warlow versus Dolph Ziggler's brother. I believe his name is Brian Nimitz. I believe that's his name, Brian. He was annihilated with just one powerbomb. One. They didn't even give him a chance to have more than one. If I'm right, I think this is Dolph Ziggler's brother, Brian Nimitz. He was annihilated with just one powerbomb. And this moment they had was done. And then you got Tony Schiavone getting in the ring, which he was supposed to because we don't know why Warlow is back. And he asked Warlow, what's going on? You're so different. What's happening? He puts up his wrist, taped up with MJF's name on it. His taped up wrist has MJF on it. And he walks away and he knocks and bumps into, well, either knocks into him or he shoves Tony Schiavone to the floor of the mat. I'll say this, at least he's different. There's no more joking around that damn music. There's no more sympathy. There's no more symphony. There's no nothing. He just doesn't care. That's a natural booking of a Goldberg. Now, mind you, we still need to see him in the back, not cared, and he just basically hurts people. That would make him really feel like a Goldberg, but this is just me. Archer versus a jobber. I think his name was Brown. It didn't last long. Archer wins. Why do I care? I'm going to tell you this. Historically, for AEW, their big men have never been treated right. Very rarely do they treat the biggest men they have there right. Right now, the only big man they got that's treated semi-right is Big Bill. Because before that, there was only one other man they treated correctly, and that was Brody Lee. And he wasn't even holding the main title. He was holding the TNT title. But I don't care about Lance Archer, because when it comes down to the clinch, he can't get it done. Do I actually believe he's going for the TNT title? No. Do I believe he's going after the world title? No. Do I believe he's going after the ROH championship? No. I don't believe it. I don't believe he's going after the ROH championship against Eddie Kingston. And he's not going to go up against the New Japan Pro Strong champion, Eddie Kingston. I don't see him going up against Samoa Joe, the current TV champion. And even if he goes up against any of them, do you actually believe he's going to win? No. They'll make him look like a monster. He comes back as a monster. And then he dies on the vine. Right when they're going to give him something, either at a pay-per-view, or on a Dynamite, or Rampage, or Collision. He just looks monstrous until he gets his ass whooped. I don't care. Done. I had to do it. Look, I don't hate Lance Archer. I actually don't mind him. I like seeing that they have variations. Some big men get somewhere. But Lance had years to be treated better. And every time he comes back, if he's not injured or there's no problem with storyline, they don't give it to him. When it comes to the clinch, he can't get it done. Let's move on. Now, Fletcher versus Kenny Omega, a damn good match. I think that's the best match I've ever seen Fletcher do by himself so far. He's been a tag specialist. He has not been a singles competitor for a while. Seeing that he can get it done is great. The Don Callis family and the storyline there, and that's one of the storylines. Seeing that Kenny is still being hated, they want to use Fletcher to try and get a little Kenny. It didn't work. They now blame Fletcher again, and that is Don blaming him. They are putting over Hobbs, which is good, saying that Hobbs has been told to keep his feelings and all of his stuff bottled up. And when they showed him destroying Chris, who is now going on tour with Fonzie, because that's the reason why he's gone. He's gone because of Fonzie. He doesn't have any injuries as far as I know. He's just out. He wants to go and perform with Fonzie. So, doing what they did is fine. That's great to see. They are doing something with Powerhouse Hobbs. They're still including Kenny Omega. Now they added Fletcher in, where Davis's partner is still injured. Can't work right now. So they are doing something with Fletcher. They are doing something with Kenny Omega. It is still part of the story of the Don Callis family. And once Fonzie's done, we're still going to have Chris Jericho dealing with the Don Callis family, which is good. There's no problem. Now, second story. Now I'm going to do this now. And that is Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland, when he was with Prince Nana, making it clear that his music videos drop on Friday on YouTube. So, fine. It looks like it's a remix variation of his theme song. No problem. But I don't really care about that. I care about what he said about Hangman Page. He said, Hangman, I'm not happy. When Nana asked him, are you happy? And he says, no, I'm not. Because it's about Hangman Page. He made it clear, Hangman, I'm not angry at you. I didn't hate you. This was not personal. This was just business. This was me versus the spot. But now you made it personal. You now got in my way. I would have been champion. At least they gone away from him and saying that he will be the first AEW black champion. It's not necessary. We're not in 1970. We're not in 1968, guys. Okay? It is a stereotype that wrestling likes to use like every other thing, but sometimes you don't always need to do it. I don't need to see that Swerve Strickland needs to be the first black AEW champion. It's not necessary. They will go there if he wins, or Powerhouse Hobbs, or any other black wrestler. They're going to go there. But it doesn't always need to be that way every single time. So, glad they moved away from it, mostly due to the fact he lost his opportunity. So, that's the second one. Third, it's Sting. Sting is the third storyline. He was in the middle of the ring. He asked for time. And he reminisced about his life in pro wrestling, talking about Lex Luger being one of the people he ran with, talking about, who else was he talking about? He also talked about Dusty Rhodes, the greatest and most charismatic person. I do agree. Dusty was one of the greatest charismatic characters in wrestling history. One of the greatest. There have been a few that have been even just as charismatic as him. That was him, The Rock, as well as Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think those three are the greatest and most charismatic people that exist. And everybody says Hulk Hogan. Of course you can say it. But he was mainly a baby face. And yes, he had a character many people love. But it wasn't as charismatic as Dusty, as The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And as you see it, you're going to know it because you're nothing but a damn jabroni. Or, if you don't like that, I got 2 words for ya. And it comes to Austin 316. Let's make it clear. Those are 3 of the most charismatic wrestlers in history. And I'm not taking away from any other charismatic wrestlers. I'm not. But these are the most strongest and well-known that has ever existed. And I agree with him. And when he mentioned the Hogan, it was mixed because people are still not fond of Hogan. He says, I know you don't like him, but still I learned from him. But he made it very clear. He's thankful for what he has. He's had so many years. And he talked about retirement. He retired in 2015. The first time, that was when he was working with Seth Rollins, who gave him a buckle bomb, which messed up his neck. And we all thought he couldn't wrestle anymore. He had to just straight retire, which he recovered. And he's been wrestling really good. But he made it very clear. Revolution 2021 is when I came in. And Revolution 2024 is when I'm leaving. Like a Bryan Danielson, who said next year he is retiring when his daughter turns, 8? I think, how old is she now? 7 or is she 6? I think she's 7 right now. No, I think she's 6 right now. And she's about to turn 7 next year, and he's retiring flat out. Doesn't mean he'll leave wrestling. He just won't perform in the ring anymore. And now, Sting, he said, Revolution next year, I'm done. I'm going to wrestle a little bit longer, and then I'm finished. I am done. So that's another story that is going to culminate in something that is going to be very special in Revolution. Hopefully, and I do believe, he's not leaving the business. He's just not going to wrestle anymore. He will be in the back. He will probably be one of the people who's going to help produce the show. And I'm hoping he's not. He's going to still do it, because if he doesn't, AEW is in trouble. They need to keep Sting as a producer in the back, as someone someone who can help the talent, someone who can help produce the shows. We need him. Just like Bryan Danielson, we need him in the back. But that's now 3. Let's go to number 4. Nick Gage. No, not Nick Gage. Nick Wayne. I'm getting Nick Gage and Nick Wayne mixed up due to the fact that their names are Nick. We got Nick Wayne. We got the JR. We also got Nick's mom, who's like, she's not the most gorgeous thing on the planet, but let's make it honest. She's a beautiful ass woman. And she didn't do that bad when she talked. So I'm going to tell you, that was not a bad segment she was doing when she was with JR and her son Nick. It wasn't 100% choppy. It wasn't like she just couldn't understand her lines. She knew what she needed to say, and she did it. She said, Nick, please explain to me why you did this. What happened here? Darby's like a brother to you. Why did you do this? And he pretty much said, when she grabbed him, don't touch me. That's number 1. Number 2, it was always about Darby. It wasn't about me. It was about Darby bringing me in. It wasn't about me being here and earning my spot. But now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show that I've earned my spot. And then she said, what about Christian? Saying he's like a dad. After what he said about your father, what he said about me. And then he comes in, put the hand on the shoulder, and says, are you ready to go, son? Yep. She couldn't stand it. She tried to stop him. Smacked to the face when he said, I can't remember what he said to her. She smacked him in the face. She apologized, and he said, you're dead to me. Walk away. But then it adds on to the story, because, especially with Sting, it adds on to the story because Darby decided to whoop the ass of Christian, grab a Nick Gage who, from what I can tell, busted his tooth while he was fighting with, oh boy. This is one of the problems when it comes to trying to make it as real as possible, guys. Because Nick Gage got a cracked tooth. And I don't know if his mouth was bleeding from that tooth or just bleeding because his mouth was bloody. I don't know where he got nailed in the face. Was it in the back? Was it with one of the lights when Darby was fighting with him? I don't know. But he literally got a cracked tooth now. It is broken. His mouth was bloody. He's going to go to the dentist tomorrow and get that shit fixed. Next to a couple of days, it's got to be fixed. He'll have to get a cap. Like, I got a cap here. He's going to probably get a cap because his tooth is broken now. And seeing that Sting came out to help Darby, that means the story with Sting is going to be more with... I would love it that Sting goes up against a Christian Cage and tries to get the TNT title. Not Darby. Because Darby's had multiple times. Let Sting get a shot at that title and let him win it and then hold it until Revolution and then drops it as a champion. That's what I would love. I don't know about anyone else. I don't know about if it's JD or Jesse or just Alex or the Solomons or Off the Road. I don't know if the Sleg Daddy would agree. I don't know if Grim would agree. But I truly believe, for me personally, the next couple of weeks, I want to see them set up a match between Sting and Christian. And I want to see him win that damn title and hold it to Revolution 2024, where he drops it to Darby. His last match should be with Darby for a championship, where it would put Darby over. I truly believe it would put him over even more if Sting won the title, holds it for several months, for the amount he's going to stay until the next Revolution, and then drops it to Darby, where it's no hatred between them. He wins, he shows his love for him, and that will be the end of his run in the ring. That's what I want. That's just me. Okay, what else we have here? Am I forgetting anything? If I'm forgetting something, I'm sorry. We got the Battle Royal for the shot as the one who goes up against an MJF to get his Dynamite Diamond ring. I think it was a Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. Yeah, I think that's it. Everybody participated. Juice was in there. You got Dustin that was in there. That made it very important. Caster was there. He rapped very well. And hearing that what he said about Jada Pinkett Smith, I got to say this. I know I don't need to say this, but I got to say this. If anybody remember when the slap happened and I did a video on that, I did. And I told people, and I think one of you still remembers, I'm telling you, you cannot justify what she did because this was not about if it was right about a Will Smith defending his woman. Nope. It was not about him defending his woman. They knew what they were getting into when they went to the Oscars because you're supposed to get roasted. He was supposed to get roasted. So was she. That's the purpose of a comedian being there. It doesn't make a difference if you like him or not. You just got to deal with it. But for him to smack him in the face and now spend the next 10 years not getting recognized by the Oscars, this was not about him. This was about Jada. And now, as you guys know, if you have been keeping up with the media, Jada Pinkett Smith is releasing a book. And now she just threw her husband under the damn bus by one, saying that Tupac Shakur was her soulmate. Two, they have not been living together since 2015. And three, she says she's going to release even more information that eventually she did, saying that Chris Rock asked her out when he thought after finding out they're not together, they were divorced. And Chris Rock made it very clear, stop talking about me. Tell me I'm wrong. Because this is not about Chris Rock. It's not about Will Smith. This is about Jada, and it's always been. And seeing Caster brought her into that, I enjoyed it. It goes right back to Caster. Look, what did we get at the end? We got, well, before we got to the end, we got MJF coming out. MJF paid a Dustin to nail. That was nice. He came up to the ring as he was on commentary talking. He went to Dustin, gave him some money, and pretty much said, dude, I'm giving you this, kick him in the damn nuts. Which Dustin did. And by the end of it, Dustin was the last two that left before it was just Juice and Caster, who made it very clear that if he wins, he's gonna face a MJF, and when it's done, he want a ring on it. Put a ring on that. That's what he wanted. He wanted to know that MJF was he was MJF's. In the end, we know Juice won. It's obvious. He won. But at least that's another story. Along what happened with Adam Cole, who's still being used until he finally got sick due to the fact that the peanut butter and jelly not satisfying a Roderick Strong because he didn't cut off the corners of the crust of the bread. We got 5 storylines here. 5. I know it can go beyond that, but we can't really say anything about Wardlow. No. It's still in development. We don't know. When it comes to MJF, he's currently in that storyline with Adam Cole. And we don't know how far that's going on. That's 2 stories. Adam Cole and MJF. And then Adam Cole with the Bullet Club Gold. Then we got Sting. Then we got Nick Wayne. And then we still have the Don Callis family and Kenny Omega. You can also say, you could talk about Powerhouse Hobbs and how they're going to develop him, but he doesn't really have a story with anybody other than working with the Don Callis family. That's 5 storylines, all running at the same time. They may not be as strong as many people like them, but if I compared it to WWE storylines, it's way better. But there's still the major problem where the women are still not treated correctly. They suck. And Sakura, Emi Sakura deserves better. She does. She deserves better. All these women deserve to have really long working feuds. And if you can't put them on Dynamite, put them on freaking Collision. As I said, if you got to separate the women, put them on Collision and make sure the men on Dynamite, I don't fucking care. Just do it. If you can't schedule them in Dynamite, schedule them on Collision. Put the women's storylines for the TBS and the world title on Collision with the tag teams and the men's main title, the trios title. It doesn't matter. Just do it. That's just me. If you don't got the time. But I hope you enjoy this. Peace.